why should you bother spending money and time to come to New Zealand when you, as you say, can study online or in good schools back in China? The one word that I would say is immersion.
来新西兰读语言学校真的能提升英语吗？我的钱花的到底值不值？来读语言都能学到什么？今天邀请到了语言学校 Language International 的 Brett， 他也在这个行业深耕了30多年，有非常多的经验。所以今天呢，想要邀请他来聊聊中国学生很感兴趣的话题，也希望对大家能有帮助。Do you want to say hi to our online friends?
你好 ，Hello, it's nice to see you all.
另外呢，关于新西兰语言班，我主页也有其他的帖子介绍相关的内容，感兴趣的朋友呢，也欢迎去看。So the first question is for the international student, especially for the Chinese international student, usually attend language schools mainly for two purposes. One is eventually enter university directly, and the other is simply to improve their English level. So what kind of programs are generally available in New Zealand, and what kind of programs can they choose at Language International?
So generally schools have a general English program, which is exactly what we have, and that's offered at usually a number of different levels so that students are in the right level for their level of English. So other learners in the class have the same. And for a lower level learner, so a learner sort of at intermediate level of learning, that's general English is the most suitable option because that's what they mostly need is the ability to really practice those skills. Once they get to a higher level, then they can start to choose more specialised courses. So especially our English for University course is an excellent option for students who are looking, as you say, to prepare to enter university. So there's also other options like especially preparing for the IELTS exam or business English classes or preparing for other English language exams. So at the lower levels, general English. As students get higher in the English, then they have more options of general English or special experiences.
It's good to have different levels. Yeah, I think the other questions that many students are very interested is like because there are also so many good English training institutions in China. So why do the students need to spend a large amount of money come to New Zealand to improve their English? Because also include the living expenses. Like usually you need to spend like $10,000 for half year. Yes. Yeah. So will this approach really make a big difference in improving English?
Yeah, it's a good question and a really important question. Why should you bother spending money and time to come to New Zealand when you, as you say, can study online or in good schools back in China? The one word that I would say is immersion. And that is still our secret weapon. That's still the most important thing for us is this idea of immersion. When you come to New Zealand, of course you're studying English at the school, but then when you leave the school, you're still surrounded in a world of English. So that's the really big advantage is that you learning in China, you go to a very good school and you study English, but as soon as you leave, of course, you're back in the world of China. And, naturally, you're using Chinese language all the time and so on. So that's the really big advantage is immersion. What's really important here as well is the ability to meet other learners, and that's a really key thing. And if you ask any of our students, of course they say they love the school, of course, but what they say that they will remember especially and what they will take away, and perhaps for the rest of their life, are the friends that they make here, the people that they learn with. And for most students, it's the first chance they've ever had to spend a lot of time with students, with people from other countries and other cultures. So learning in the same environment, sharing, when they go out and do activities, just enjoying free time together, all that sort of thing. It's good for everyone. It's good for the Lord. It's good for our society to have people who understand and have friends across cultures, and that's a super important thing and so valuable. Yeah, people who are going on, for example, to study at university, it's also really important that you have time here before you study at university to just get used to the environment, to learn about living in New Zealand and just getting comfortable with being in New Zealand. So that's a really good reason to come to a course like this.
Especially for English for university, you also help students to get ready for their academic world.
That's right. Yeah, that's the aim of our English for university course is to really prepare students for life at university, for the language demands of life at university. So if you achieve the right score in PTE or an IELTS or any other English language test, that shows that you have the English level to study at university, but it doesn't prepare you for life at university, for studying at university. And that's where a course like our English University is so important, because it prepares students for the real things that they will need to do at university.
Yeah, for example, like how to do research.
That's right.
That sort of thing.
Researching, writing essays, making presentations, working together in groups, all that kind of thing. Those are very, very important skills that preparing for a language test just doesn't give you.
Yeah, that's so true. And the other question might be, for example, if my current English level is IELTS 5.0, so how long will it take to improve to 6.5? Or, for example, if my current score is like 5.5, do you recommend to take a general English or the, for example, English for university program?
So, first of all, in terms of how quickly you can make progress, the research that has been conducted by IELTS, by the organisation that runs the IELTS exam, has shown that on average it takes about 10 weeks of full-time English language study to make 0.5 of one band progress. So it's about 3 months per 0.5. Yeah. So if you look at that, then to go from 5 to 6.5, you're probably looking at something around 9 months of English. Now, you have to remember that that's the average.
Yes.
Some learners will go faster.
Yes.
Some learners will go slower. So it's very hard to say for an individual learner how quickly they're going to make that progress. If we get asked the question, that's what we'll say.
Yes.
We'll basically say, if you want to go from 5.5 to 6.5, you're looking at 6 months.
I see, yeah.
Because we actually have a free test on our website that any students can do, and that way we can give them an idea of their level and give them some advice about what kind of course, how long, and so on. In terms of what course to do if they have, for example, level 5.5, we would probably advise to start with general English. If they're on a university pathway, then we would say that the final 3 months of their time with us is the English for University course. So we want to leave that course until the end so that their level is as high as possible and they can have as much benefit as possible from the course. And it also depends on what they need to achieve at the end. So if you have a student whose IELTS level is 5.5 and they need to achieve 6, then they could potentially just go straight into the English for University course. However, if their level is 5.5 and they need to achieve 6.5, then that's where we would say do 3 months of general English and then 3 months of English for University.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the individual.
And also I know some of the students, including myself, it can be quicker.
Exactly. It depends on the student and depends on their motivation and their ability. And so absolutely it depends on the individual student. It's also worth noting that for our IELTS courses, we offer entry to IELTS course from sort of IELTS 5 level. So the English for University course is higher level than that, but for the IELTS programs we actually have entry at sort of around IELTS 5 level.